Good morning. We're going to begin today with some singing. This is a repeat from last week, so hopefully you'll feel more familiar and confident with it this week. Gather Your Courage by the Courage Collective, a group of American and Canadian songwriters who wrote it together. And a song which is being used right now in Minneapolis on the streets as a song of protest. There are two sections. The first section we will sing all together, and then the next section is call and response. And the lyrics will be behind me so soon. There. All right. So, gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your power into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your power into your hands, Care for each other, on these lands. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your power, into your hands, Care for each other, on these lands. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Gather your courage into your heart. When we're together, we can start. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name's Chuck Shields with the board. I use he, him pronouns, and I think we are ready to start here this morning, right? So, a land acknowledgement to start with. We acknowledge that our campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation requires continual effort. I'm reminded of this need for ongoing effort, particularly strongly, as we've continued to build our relationship with Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services. We have signed an agreement with them that will pass some of our campus to them. But that marks just a step in coming to know each other better and to learning to live and work with each other in a good way. We will need to continue to apply ourselves to these efforts. And this morning we have but one announcement. This is related to lay chaplains. Lay chaplains perform an important service for the wider community by conducting rites of passage, including child dedications, celebrations of life, and weddings. The First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa, in partnership with the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ottawa, will be looking to appoint new lay chaplains in the coming months. If you're interested in learning more about lay chaplaincy and receiving the application package, please contact Sharmila Kari at sharmila.kari@gmail.com. And usually, there she is, waving her hand. We'll talk with her after the service in Fellowship Hall. Applications are due by February 28th this year. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Come on. Good morning. Thank you. I was feeling a little sleepy, and I just wanted to check where you were with that. All right, we're here. Good morning. I am the Reverend Lara Cowtan. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm delighted to be with you here today. And I welcome also those joining us online. I'm joined on our chancel this morning by our worship associate, Lisa Boulay, and our music director, Jan Burnson. And Jody McIntosh will be here to share a story with us later as well. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of the people that it takes behind the scenes, not just up on the chancel, to bring these services to you. And we'll wave at Julia in the back there, but there are just so many people involved. This morning, each of us is welcome. However you arrived here, whatever you're bringing with you, we of any heritage or faith, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are. Whatever you come here seeking, all of our gifts and our wounds, our laughter and our tears are welcome here. Today we are all part of this spiritual community, and we've come together to refill our spiritual well springs of hope and possibility, of love and justice, to lift up and live into our values and our lives that we might return to the world refreshed and ready to begin anew. And maybe, just maybe, you've come here just to be in good company. And I assure you, you are. So welcome. Dear friends, as we come together and begin this hour of worship this morning, may you find it a blessing. If you are here for the first time, I also encourage you to stop by our welcome table and get some information from the lovely people back there. Hello, Carol. Good morning. And then connect with folks in the fellowship hall afterwards. With that, I invite Lisa to come forward and share some centering words with us. Thank you.
Good morning. Bonjour. Annie. Hi. Our centering words today are The Great Teachers in Life by Jason Cook. We seekers are on a quest to discover truth and meaning. Sometimes we think we found it, wrapped up, glimmering with newness, straight off the intellectual assembly line. All the answers right here for us, and others, if they'd only listen. But truth has a way of coming in disguise, sometimes wearing rags and sometimes finery, but so often cloaked from our immediate sight. And sometimes that which we have rejected, to which we have let go, or decided was only for others, but not us. These can be our teachers too. Let our time of worship be an acknowledgement of the never-ending journey towards truth and meaning, and our appreciation of those we learn from along the way. Remy, would you like to come up and light the chalice, please? Well done. Yes, well done. We light our chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. Jen, over to you.
Morning, everyone. I am Jody McIntosh. I'm the Director of Religious Exploration, and I use she and her pronouns. And I invite anyone young or young at heart to come and gather at the front for my story this morning. So our story today is called The Guessing Game. Now, if you can imagine, it's a warm, sunny day. Wouldn't we all like it to be a warm, sunny day right now? It's a warm, sunny day at a fair. And there is a tent, just like the one that's up there. And someone in a funny hat walks out of the tent and says, "Gather round, gather round, gather round. It's for the guessing game. Come and guess what's in my tent." So some people gathered around, and he said, "I need 6 volunteers to come into my tent and see what is in my tent. But you have to consent to wearing a blindfold because you can't see what's in my tent. You have to feel what's in my tent." So they all consented to wearing a nice comfy blindfold, and they were escorted into the tent. Now the first person went up to this mystery item and found something big and roundish, and it was thick and sturdy, and he said, "Aha, it's a tree." The second person went up, and they felt something long and flexible and said, "Oh, I think it's a big snake." Now the third person came up and found something flat and solid and said, "Oh, I think it's a wall." Now the fourth person came up, and they found something that was moving. It was flapping, and it was a it was a flapping item. He said, "Well, I think that might be a fan or maybe a sail." And then the fifth person came up, and they found something long and thin and wiry and said, "I think it might be a rope." And the final person came up and said, "Well, that's not a rope. It's smooth and it's long. I think it might be a spear." So all the people left the tent, and they took off their blindfolds, and then they started to argue. One said, "Well, I think it's a spear." "No, it's not a spear. It's a tree." "No, it's a wall." "No, it's a rope." And they all argued about the truth of what the item was. Now, before I tell you what's in the tent, does anyone have any guesses what the item might be? Ready? It might be a bunch of different things. Hazel? Hazel thinks it's just a tree. But what if I told you it was just one thing? Everyone who went into the tent had a different experience about that one thing. So I'm going to show you. Here's my little tent. The host of the game clicked his fingers, and the tent dropped. And inside was an elephant? An elephant? How did that happen? Well, the first one, he touched the elephant's leg, and it felt like a tree. And the next one, he felt the elephant's trunk, and it felt like a snake. And then the next one felt the elephant's side, and he thought it was a wall. And the next one touched his ear and thought it was a sail or a fan. And then the next one touched his tail and thought it was a rope. And then the last one touched his smooth, long tusks and thought it was a spear. Now they all had different truths, but really it was an elephant. So the whole group So in the shared silence that followed, everyone began to giggle. They looked at the elephant, then at each other, and finally at their hands. Each person had felt something true, but only a tiny piece of the whole. "You were all very brave explorers," said the host. "But here is the secret to the game. Being free to search means you get to follow your own curiosity. Being responsible means you have to listen to what your friends found too. If you only listen to yourself, you just have a rope or a tree. But when we share what we know, we find something much bigger and more wonderful. We can find the whole elephant. And that is our story today. So we will sing our children on our way, and just a reminder for the parents to come down to room 2 to pick up your children after the service. Thank you.
Each time that we gather for worship, we take a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death and the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. Let us take a moment to prepare our hearts for our time of sharing together with the singing of our bowl. It is our tradition here to drop stones into waters. The stones symbolize things that we're carrying in our hearts, those that are light and those that are heavy, into the waters of our community, that the ripples may go forward through us and out into the world with our best intentions. From our larger community, we place stones of celebration and support for the Canadian Olympic athletes. Yay! And in gratitude for the 19 Theravada Buddhist monks and their rescue dog who arrived in Washington, D.C. after walking for 108 days across 3,700 kilometers of roads, on a pilgrimage promoting peace, compassion, and nonviolence. And we place 9 stones, one for each of the people who have died in the shooting at Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. For the families and loved ones of the victims. Grief is too small a word for the immensity of the impact on this small community. We send our loving support as they navigate this shattered reality. From among our community today, we share a stone of support and care and appreciation for Reverend Ian Hill, who was a ministerial intern here a few years ago. Our message for people to sign at the back on the caring card table will be shared with Ian. honoring your courage and integrity in going to Minneapolis and Atlanta to protest and resist unjust and violent actions by ICE. You are helping to make a difference. Love and support from your friends in Ottawa. We offer stones too for those among us who are holding deep griefs and sorrows and concerns about their own health or that of loved ones, or grief for those who are no longer with us. And there are those who have come here today with a joyful heart, those celebrating birthdays and anniversaries, and milestones of sobriety. We all celebrate with you. I invite you now to come forward as you feel so moved and share your stones with our community. We share one final stone, as always, that represents those joys and those sorrows in our hearts that remain unspoken. And I invite you all to share in a time of silence for reflection, for meditation, for prayer.
Today's anthem, sung by Chalice Choir, is Roll Down Justice by Mark Miller. This piece was written in honor of Reverend Robert Crandall, a United Methodist minister who preached liberation theology, the interpretation of the gospel that God is always on the side of the oppressed and never the oppressor. The fight for a more just and equitable world was always at the center of his preaching. And composer Mark Miller, himself a queer African-American man, says that the line you'll hear sung by the choir in the text, "Let the vision take flight," speaks to his belief that death is not the end of Reverend Crandall's vision, but the beginning. You will hear a wonderful piano part played by Callie Alders today, and also a solo by David Giroux.
Justice roll down like the rush of a stream. Comes a powerful dream. Let justice roll down. Justice rolls down.
Let the earth be restored. Every soul be reformed.
Like an ever-flowing stream.
Thank you, Jen, Callie, and the Chalice Choir. That was amazing. I'll ask the ushers to please come forward. You're way ahead of me today. Interdependence and generosity are core values of our tradition. We know that we are bound up with each other and our partners in the world, and that generosity is an expression of our faith. During the entire month of February, our Sunday collections, unless marked towards your pledge, will be split with our community partner, Pinecrest Queensway Health and Community Services, an innovative, community-based multi-service center. They strive to meet the needs of the diverse communities they serve and work in partnership with individuals, families, and communities to achieve their full potential. Paying particular attention to those facing barriers to access, with mentorship programs for Black youth and those who are most vulnerable and at risk. Please give as generously as you are able. If you have a smartphone handy, you can use the QR code on the screen or the back of the order of service to make an online donation. I offer this affirmation of gratitude for the gifts shared today. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may be held by the generosity of others. May the work of our hands and the generosity of our hearts be given in gratitude this day. So we're going to be doing a responsive reading right now. It's in the back of the Gray Hymnal, number 650. It'll also be up on the screen. It's entitled Cherish Your Doubts by Robert T. Weston. So I will read the bolded areas on the screen, and you will read the italicized words. So let us begin. Oh, okay. Say that again. You're going to read the blue words. I'm going to read the black words. Okay, let's begin. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth. Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery. A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, and there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief. Doubt is a touchstone of truth. It is an acid which eats away the false. Let no one fear the truth, that doubt may consume it. For doubt is a testing of belief. The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by the testing. For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. Those who silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shifting sands. But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock. They shall walk in the light of growing knowledge. The work of their hands shall endure. Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help. It is to be wise, staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth. Now, please rise in body or in spirit and join in the singing of our hymn, number 300, with heart and mind. What book is that in? In the Gray Hymnal.
With heart and mind. sanctified, and spirits lift, where every door is open wide for all who choose to step inside. Last week, we spoke about holding truth with care, asking before we speak or share our truth, ask ourselves, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And does it improve upon the silence?
Today, we step back another layer. Because before we can hold truth with care, how do we discern it at all? Our fourth principle, I've got 8 of them listed here. The fourth one is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We love that word, free. It's something liberal religious people have put on their flags and their banners and their front doors of their assembly places for centuries. Free from creed, free from dogma, free from imposed belief, free to search. But the word responsible is just as central to this principle and far more demanding. It reminds us that our search is not solitary, it is not self-authorizing, and it is not without consequence, accountability. Free suggests independence. Responsible reminds us that we are in relationship. And that's where the tension, in that tension, that's where the real work begins. So earlier, the children heard the story, this old parable of the blind men and the elephant. And each person had touched one part and drew a confident conclusion. That is a snake, that is a tree, that is a fan. Each one was sincere, convicted in their belief that they were right. They held the truth. And each one was partly right. And each one was fully incomplete. So the danger in that story was not their perspective, their independence of individual perspective. The danger was in their certainty. Human perspective is always partial. We see through lenses shaped by history and culture and education and trauma and community. The problem begins when we mistake our view for being the entire landscape. Unitarian Universalism was born from people willing to question inherited certainties, or the certainties we are handed, or the ones that we just hold. Our Unitarian ancestors were persuaded by reason and conscience that the doctrine of the Trinity did not align with the biblical and moral evidence before them. And our Universalist ancestors rejected the theology of eternal damnation because they believed it contraindicated the character of a truly loving God. And over time, scientific discoveries reshaped theological claims, and social movements reshaped moral understanding, and many years ago, people believed the world was flat. Well, some still do. But that belief represented the limits, literally the limits of their horizon. And as knowledge expanded, new truths were revealed. So we have now inherited that posture of ongoing reform. Revelation for us is not sealed. We believe that human beings are capable of learning and growing and transforming, and that new insight is not only always possible, but that is our responsibility. And that comes with a caution. Reverend Paige Getty writes, "Without responsibility, a free search for truth and meaning is potentially narcissistic and destructive." Freedom, untethered from accountability, can collapse into self-absorption. It can elevate preference into principle. It can ignore evidence and dismiss community whenever they become inconvenient. Getty reminds us that we are indeed privileged to be free, to wrestle with truth without fear of persecution. We still have that freedom, and it is indeed a hard-won privilege. But that privilege calls us not to isolation in our own personal truths, but to humility. Truth may speak through personal experience, yes, but also through tradition and conflict and community and nature and relationships. And as a faith tradition, Getty writes, we make this sacred right and responsibility to engage in the search as an act of religious devotion. Simply said, searching is how we live our faith. We leave open the questions of what truth and meaning ultimately are, trusting that mindful people in every age will discover new insights. We're not writing them down for others to hold as their truths. That's not relativism. It is disciplined openness. It is a discernment that is ongoing and communal. We test our ideas against evidence and consequence. We listen, especially to those most affected. And we allow ourselves to be challenged. As we heard in our responsive reading, Reverend Dr. Forrest Church offered a beautiful image for this, a metaphor that I return to over and over. This is not the first or last time you're going to hear this. Imagine a vast cathedral filled with beautiful stained glass windows, and each window is shaped by a different tradition, a different culture or theology. The colors differ. The window patterns differ. But imagine how beautiful the space inside that cathedral is when it's all lit up. One light shines through them all. The patterns differ, yet one light shines through, and some may call that light, that supreme source of illumination, God. And some may call it source of being, and some may just call it the sun. But the beauty that is created by that one source is our responsibility to nurture. If we insist that only our pane of glass is legitimate, then we impoverish the whole. And if we smash out other windows in defense of our color, then we diminish the beauty and the harmony of the entire cathedral. Pluralism is one of the values that we hold dear, and pluralism at its best is the disciplined recognition that truth may be refracted across differences. Big, colorful Zen diagrams enhanced by those differences. And that recognition of how precious our differences are is so desperately needed these days. We're living in a time when misinformation spreads faster than the corrections of the lies. And when a few manipulated pixels can fabricate an entire story, and when outrage is monetized, and when algorithms feed us only what confirms our pre-existing beliefs. The line between conviction and performance can grow thin. So a responsible search for truth now requires media literacy. It requires us to pause before sharing something outrageous, to check the sources, to ask who benefits from this narrative and who is harmed by it. It requires the humility to say, I need to learn more, rather than reacting instantly. Before we react, we can still ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Does it improve upon the silence or the feed? But discernment here, it's not only digital, it's historical. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission asked Canadians to confront truths long denied about residential schools, cultural genocide, systemic harm. For generations, a dominant story insisted that those institutions were benevolent, and the survivors told another truth. And it was only when people began to listen, truly listen, that the fuller, more painful, more colorful truth emerged. That listening unsettles us, and it should. Responsible seeking means allowing our understanding to be reshaped by voices that have been unheard. It means recognizing that Western Enlightenment reason, which has shaped Unitarian Universalism profoundly with all of our colonial structures, it's not the only way of knowing. Indigenous knowledge traditions carry wisdom rooted in land and relationship and memory. Science matters. Evidence matters. And so do lived experience and communal story. More shades of brilliant glass in the emerging pattern. A free and responsible search invites all of this into the room. All of the discomfort. And it asks of us something personally. We often debate truth out there, politics and policy and public discourse. But what about the truths that we live quietly? Our assumed understandings of who we are. We know what we believe by what we fund, by what we defend, by what we excuse or remain silent about. If someone examined your calendar, your spending habits, your conversations, your algorithms, what would they conclude that you hold to be true? This is always the test. There's this old saying among ministers that, when you're writing someone's eulogy, you only need 2 documents. Now this is dated. We talk about a checkbook and a diary. These are the truths of who a person is in so many ways. The question is not meant to make us uncomfortable. It is not meant to be, and yet it is, that self-examination of truths. Because truth is not simply what we argue, it is what we enact, it is what we live into the world, and it is what we hold in our hearts. Responsible searching asks, who does this belief make me? Who does it protect? Who does it endanger? Who does it serve? Does it serve love or comfort? When someone's lived experience contradicts our own assumptions about race or gender or economics or history, the responsible path is not immediate agreement. It is disciplined listening. It is staying present long enough to understand why this truth matters so deeply to them. And sometimes it means then, once we learn, once we've listened, it means revising ourselves and our own truths. It's not weakness. It doesn't mean, oh, we were wrong. It's not shameful. It's awakening. It's transformation. It's living and breathing Unitarian Universalism. It's easier, though, to retreat into private spirituality. Easier to say, I have my truth, you have yours. Just avoid that friction. But ours is not a do-it-yourself religion. We are pilgrims, and pilgrimage is not solitary. Walking together means that we will unsettle and refine one another together. It means we may discover that what felt like solid ground was shifting sands. But it also means that we travel in companionship, correcting course as we go and learning where the deeper waters run, so we don't run aground. There's an old story about a riverboat captain on the Mississippi. And when asked whether he knew every rock and sandbar on the river, he replied, "Oh, no, sir, but I sure know where the deep water is." Discernment is about learning where the deep water runs. Deep water looks like humility. It looks like courage. It looks like staying in conversation when it would be easier to leave. Now, not every claim of truth deserves equal weight. I've seen a couple this morning already that, I just let them pass. But not every perspective is equally informed. And some assertions are false. Some ideologies harm, and we know that. And we are accountable for which ones we will tolerate in our lives, and which ones we will be silent about, and which ones we will speak up about. But every human being deserves to be heard. And when we listen deeply, especially when it stretches or disrupts us, something sacred happens. Our own convictions are refined. Our own deep water is navigated. Our assumptions are exposed, and our compassions expand along with our understanding of truth. So perhaps the deeper question beneath our fourth principle is this: are we willing to be changed by the truths we encounter? Are we willing to examine the stories we inherited and to confront the comforts that we protect? To align our lives with the truths that we claim to cherish? A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. It's not comfortable work. It's not simply being free to believe whatever we want to believe. It asks for intellect and humility and conviction and compassion. And it asks for us to grow up spiritually, constantly being transformed. In a fractured world, that kind of searching, free, responsible, relational, may be one of the most hopeful acts that we can offer, modeling that. So may we keep seeking. May we continually test what we hold true. May we listen, especially when it stretches us. And may our shared search lead us not toward certainty, but toward integrity, courage, and a deeper humanity. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Our closing hymn today will be number 298 in your gray hymnals. Wake now my senses. The words will also be behind me on the screen. Please rise in body or spirit.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Let us carry these things in our hearts until we're together again. In our closing benediction, go your ways, knowing not all the answers to all things, yet seeking always the answer to one more thing than you know. Go in peace. Go in love.